Ever wonder why some people achieve their dreams while others don't? The secret lies in embodying your future self today. Your brain can't distinguish between actual achievement and consistent rehearsal. By acting as if you've already become that person, your subconscious creates matching opportunities. How? Start with small daily habits that mirror your ideal self. Identify one behavior to implement today. Remember, you become what you consistently do, not what you occasionally wish for. In a few moments, you will learn how to act like the person you want to become, the power of self-image. Have you ever noticed that successful individuals carry themselves differently? They walk with purpose, speak with conviction, and radiate an energy that draws others toward them. This isn't coincidence or good fortune. It's the manifestation of a powerful self-image they've cultivated within themselves. Consider this fundamental truth. You will never rise beyond the vision you hold of yourself in your mind. The person you believe yourself to be sets the boundaries for everything you'll achieve in life. When you look in the mirror, who do you see staring back? Is it someone destined for greatness or someone limited by doubt and fear? Your answer to this question carries more weight than any external factor in determining your ultimate destiny. You create this powerful transformation by first identifying the exact person you wish to become, not just in accomplishments, but in character, demeanor, and spirit. Visualize this ideal version of yourself with crystal clarity. How does this person stand, speak, react to challenges? What values guide their decisions? Once you've established this vision, you must begin living as though you've already become this person. This isn't deception. It's strategic alignment of your current actions with your desired outcomes. Begin practicing the mannerisms, making the decisions, and adopting the mindset of your ideal self. When faced with choices, ask yourself, what would the person I desire to become do in this situation? Then summon the courage to act accordingly, even when it feels unnatural at first. Edmund Graves found himself working as a mid-level banker with dreams of revolutionizing the financial industry. Although lacking connections and exceptional resources, Graves noticed that the banking executives he admired shared certain qualities. They dressed impeccably, spoke deliberately, and carried themselves with quiet confidence. Rather than waiting for promotion to adopt these traits, Graves began embodying them immediately, investing in quality suits despite his modest salary, practicing articulate speech patterns, and carrying himself with the dignified demeanor of someone already leading the industry. Within 3 years, Graves had risen to regional director, with colleagues later remarking they had always perceived him as executive material, long before his title reflected this status. Are you currently projecting the image of the person you aspire to become? Do your daily actions align with the future you envision? Or do you tell yourself that someday, after you've achieved success, you'll begin acting the part? The painful truth many never grasp is that success flows toward those who embody it before external circumstances reflect it. But perhaps you're thinking, isn't this just pretending? Shouldn't I be authentic? Here's the crucial distinction. You're not fabricating qualities you don't possess. You're cultivating attributes that already exist within you, yet remain underdeveloped. The seeds of your future self are present in you now, waiting for nourishment through deliberate action and persistent focus. When you consistently act in alignment with your ideal self-image, something remarkable begins to occur. The gap between who you are and who you wish to become gradually narrows until it disappears entirely. Your subconscious mind, unable to distinguish between deeply imagined experience and reality, begins reshaping your automatic behaviors to match your conscious performances. What specific aspect of your self-image requires immediate elevation? Which quality of your desired future self could you begin embodying today, even before external circumstances validate this choice? Daily habits form your future self. Consider for a moment the astonishing power contained within a single day. 24 hours might seem insignificant when measured against a lifetime, yet within each day lies the foundation of your destiny. The person you will become 1 year, 5 years, or a decade from now isn't determined by momentous decisions or rare opportunities. It's shaped by the seemingly minor actions you repeat daily. These consistent patterns, your habits, are silently determining your trajectory toward either greatness or mediocrity. Each time you perform an action, you reinforce neural pathways in your brain. making that behavior increasingly automatic. Dhammaseically, this process works. With unwavering neutrality, it will just as readily cement excellence as it will mediocrity, depending solely on what you choose to practice. You transform yourself not through occasional bursts of motivation or temporary commitments, but through the steady accumulation of small, deliberate choices made consistently over time. Success isn't achieved through sporadic, heroic efforts, but through mundane actions performed with extraordinary consistency. Begin by identifying the specific habits that characterize the person you aspire to become. Does this person rise early, maintain physical discipline, read voraciously, express gratitude daily, make meaningful connections? Whatever these patterns may be, implement them immediately into your daily routine, not because they'll bring instant results, but because they'll gradually reshape your identity into alignment with your aspirations. During the 1968 Olympic training season, Australian swimmer Margaret Thwaites found herself consistently seconds behind her competitors. Rather than making dramatic changes to her technique, she made one modest adjustment to her habits, arriving 30 minutes before each scheduled practice. This additional time allowed her to perform specialized breathing exercises and mental rehearsal. While teammates noticed nothing remarkable in this routine, Thwaites maintained this discipline for 11 months without exception. By the time the Olympic trials arrived, these accumulated minutes had transformed her performance, elevating her from team alternate to gold medal contender. Are you waiting for motivation to strike before establishing the habits of your ideal self? Or have you recognized that action precedes motivation, not the other way around? When will you decide that today's decisions matter more than yesterday's limitations or tomorrow's aspirations? Just as water gradually reshapes stone not through force but through persistence, your habits, even those that seem insignificant in isolation, will ultimately define you. The challenge lies in maintaining these patterns long enough to witness their transformative effect. Most abandon promising habits before this crucial threshold, never experiencing the compound interest of consistent action. Start with habits so small they seem trivial. Read 5 pages each morning. Walk 10 minutes daily. These modest beginnings might seem inconsequential, but their power lies in consistency rather than intensity. As these patterns become embedded in your identity, gradually increase their scope until they match the full expression of your desired self. Remember that excellence isn't accomplished through occasional heroic efforts, but through unremarkable actions performed with remarkable consistency. The distance between your current self and your aspirational identity will be crossed through thousands of seemingly insignificant choices made daily. What single habit could you implement tomorrow morning that would most directly connect you with the person you're determined to become? Which daily action, if performed consistently for 1 year, would make the greatest difference in your trajectory? The courage to step outside your comfort zone. Every meaningful achievement in human history has required someone to venture beyond the boundaries of what felt comfortable and familiar. That promotion you desire, that business you dream of launching, that relationship you wish to build, all exist just beyond the edges of your current comfort zone, waiting for you to summon the courage to step across this invisible threshold. Growth and comfort simply cannot coexist. This fundamental truth explains why so many people remain trapped in mediocrity despite possessing extraordinary potential. They mistake temporary comfort for genuine fulfillment, never realizing that the very discomfort they avoid is precisely what would transform them into the person they aspire to become. You accelerate personal transformation by deliberately seeking situations that stretch your capabilities and challenge your assumptions. Each time you embrace discomfort for the sake of growth, you expand your capacity to handle uncertainty and difficulty. This expansion doesn't merely change what you can do, it fundamentally alters who you are becoming. Begin identifying the specific discomforts currently keeping you from your desired identity. Is it public speaking? Initiating difficult conversations, making financial investments, learning technical skills? Whatever these growth opportunities may be, approach them deliberately and consistently, recognizing that temporary discomfort is the price of permanent transformation. British mountaineer Alistair Pennington found himself unable to advance beyond regional climbing competitions despite rigorous physical training. After careful self-assessment, he recognized his limitation wasn't physical, but psychological. He avoided certain technically challenging routes that carried greater risk of public failure. Rather than continuing his comfortable training regimen, Pennington deliberately restructured his approach, attempting only routes that induced anxiety and uncertainty. For 6 months, he endured constant failure, public struggles, and the psychological strain of performing beneath his previous standards. This deliberate discomfort eventually expanded his capabilities beyond what incremental improvements could have achieved, ultimately earning him recognition among the elite climbers of his generation. Are you currently arranging your life to maximize comfort or growth? When was the last time you deliberately placed yourself in a situation where failure was not only possible but probable? How much potential remains dormant within you, waiting for the catalyst of necessary discomfort? The paradox of personal development is that we must become comfortable with discomfort itself. The sensation of uncertainty, vulnerability, and temporary incompetence, feelings most people spend their lives avoiding, are actually reliable indicators that you're moving in the right direction. These feelings signal the expansion of your capabilities rather than reasons to retreat. Start with small discomforts, speaking up in meetings, approaching new professional connections, learning foundational skills in areas that intimidate you. As your tolerance increases, gradually expand the scope of challenges you're willing to embrace. Soon, situations that once seemed terrifying will become merely challenging, and challenges that once seemed insurmountable will become routine. Remember that courage isn't the absence of fear, but rather the decision that something else, your growth, your purpose, your potential contribution, matters more than your temporary emotional comfort. The greatest regrets in life rarely come from the risks we took, but from the growth opportunities we avoided for fear of discomfort or failure. What specific discomfort have you been avoiding that, if embraced, would most directly transform you into the person you aspire to become? What's the smallest step you could take tomorrow to begin facing this necessary challenge? Surrounding yourself with excellence. No individual achieves extraordinary success in isolation. This fundamental principle has been demonstrated throughout human history, yet many still attempt to reach their highest potential through solitary effort. The truth remains evident. Your environment, particularly the people with whom you consistently interact, shapes your thinking, influences your decisions, and ultimately determines your trajectory. This principle of environmental influence operates with unwavering consistency, whether you consciously direct it or not. Your mind gradually adopts the predominant attitudes, perspectives, and ambitions of those with whom you spend the most time. This process occurs subtly, often beyond your conscious awareness, yet its impact on your development is profound and inescapable. You accelerate your transformation by deliberately cultivating relationships with individuals who embody qualities you wish to develop. This strategic approach to relationship building isn't manipulative, it's an acknowledgement that humans naturally grow toward the standards present in their immediate environment. By consciously elevating this environment, you provide yourself the optimal conditions for becoming your ideal self. Begin evaluating your current social and professional circles with unflinching honesty. Are you surrounded by individuals who challenge you to expand your thinking, elevate your standards, and pursue meaningful growth? Or do your closest associations reinforce limitations, encourage complacency, and normalize mediocrity? Once you've conducted this assessment, take deliberate steps to increase your exposure to excellence while compassionately creating distance from influences that limit your potential. Does your current environment reflect where you are or where you're determined to go? Have you become the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time? What deliberate adjustments to your associations would most dramatically accelerate your development? The mastermind principle. The exponential power created when minds unite in harmony toward shared objectives represents one of the most powerful applications of environmental influence. By creating or joining such alliances, you gain access not only to expanded knowledge and resources, but to the invisible current of mutual inspiration and accountability that naturally accelerates each member's progress. Begin creating this elevated environment by seeking mentors who already embody your aspirational identity, joining communities organized around excellence in your field, and initiating regular interactions with peers who share your commitment to growth while bringing complementary perspectives. Remember, that meaningful connection with one person operating at an extraordinary level will impact your development more profoundly than casual association with dozens of individuals settled into mediocrity. What single relationship, if established or deepened, would most dramatically accelerate your transformation into the person you aspire to become? Which current association, if limited, would remove the greatest obstacle to your continued growth? Persistence through adversity. Every meaningful achievement in human history has encountered significant resistance. This universal pattern reveals an uncomfortable truth. Adversity isn't merely an occasional obstacle on the path to becoming your ideal self. It's an essential component of the transformation process itself. The capacity to maintain your course when faced with difficulty often determines your ultimate destiny more decisively than talent, opportunity, or initial advantages. This resilience in the face of inevitable challenges represents the crucial difference between those who merely desire transformation and those who actually experience it. Temporary motivation and fair-weather commitment may initiate change, but only persistent action sustained through difficulty will complete the journey from aspiration to embodiment of your ideal self. You develop this transformative persistence not by avoiding challenges, but by reframing your relationship with adversity itself. Rather than viewing obstacles as interruptions to your progress, recognize them as strengthening mechanisms, necessary resistance that builds the character and capacity required to sustain success once achieved. Like muscle tissue that grows stronger through the deliberate stress of resistance training, your capabilities expand most significantly when pushing against meaningful opposition. Begin cultivating persistence by establishing clear, compelling reasons for becoming your ideal self that transcend momentary comfort or convenience. When your motivation connects to values and purposes larger than yourself, it becomes significantly easier to maintain momentum through periods of difficulty and doubt. Additionally, develop specific strategies for managing predictable challenges, energy fluctuations, criticism from others, temporary failures, plateaus in progress, so these common obstacles don't derail your consistent action. Brazilian footballer Renato Carvalho suffered a devastating injury that doctors unanimously declared career-ending. Rather than accepting this assessment, Carvalho developed an unprecedented rehabilitation regimen, working through excruciating pain for 18 months while teammates and former coaches progressively abandoned hope for his return. During this period of isolation, Carvalho transformed not only his physical capabilities, but his fundamental approach to the sport. Upon his eventual return, which medical experts had deemed impossible, his enhanced technical precision and strategic understanding elevated him from talented player to transformative presence in the sport, ultimately earning him recognition among the era's elite athletes. When was the last time difficulty strengthened rather than diminished your commitment? How quickly do you currently abandon worthy pursuits when progress becomes challenging? What specific adversity are you currently facing that, if properly leveraged, could become the catalyst for your most significant growth? Remember that persistence isn't merely continuing along the same path regardless of results. It's maintaining commitment to your ultimate objective while flexibly adapting methods based on feedback. This nuanced approach balances unwavering dedication to your aspirational identity with willingness to adjust specific tactics as circumstances require. Develop practical resilience by creating support systems that sustain your momentum during inevitable challenges. These might include accountability partnerships, regular review of your most compelling motivations, strategic breaks that prevent burnout without sacrificing momentum, and deliberate study of others who have overcome similar obstacles on their transformation journey. What current challenge, if overcome through persistent effort rather than avoided, would most dramatically accelerate your development into the person you aspire to become? What specific system could you implement to maintain consistent action toward your aspiration, regardless of temporary emotional states or external circumstances, defining your future self with precision? Have you ever noticed that truly exceptional individuals possess an unusually clear picture of who they are and where they're headed? This clarity isn't coincidental. It's the essential foundation upon which all meaningful achievement is built. Without a precise vision of your destination, even the most determined effort often leads nowhere in particular. Many drift through life, responding to whatever circumstances present themselves, never taking full command of their direction. They harbor vague notions about success or happiness without defining these concepts in actionable terms. This ambiguity inevitably produces mediocre results, regardless of the effort invested or talents possessed. You create transformative clarity by engaging in deliberate, detailed visioning of your ideal future self. This process requires moving beyond generic aspirations towards specific definition. Rather than merely wanting success, define precisely what success means for you in relationships, contribution, financial terms, skill development, and personal fulfillment. Document these specifications with rigor, creating a blueprint detailed enough that someone else could understand exactly who you're becoming. Begin this clarity-building process by isolating yourself from distractions for several hours with the sole purpose of defining your aspirational identity. Ask penetrating questions. What specific capabilities would your ideal self possess? What daily activities would fill their schedule? What impact would they make on others? What standards would they maintain? What environments would they occupy? Record these specifications in vivid detail, then refine them through regular review and reflection until your vision achieves crystalline clarity. Throughout the 1950s, Italian civic architect Marco Visconti found himself producing competent but unremarkable designs, securing sufficient commissions, but never breaking through to projects that truly excited his creative passion. During a period of frustration, Visconti retreated to his family's countryside home for 3 weeks, where he meticulously documented his ideal professional future, sketching the specific types of structures he wished to design, the collaborative relationships he wanted to build, the technical innovations he hoped to pioneer, and even the publications in which he aspired to be featured. Upon returning to his practice, Visconti declined projects inconsistent with this vision, despite their financial appeal, while creating speculative designs aligned with his ideal future. Within 14 months, this clarity-driven approach attracted precisely the opportunities he had envisioned, establishing him among the most distinctive architects of his generation. Have you defined your aspirational identity with sufficient precision to recognize opportunities that align with it? Could a stranger understand exactly who you're becoming based on your current definition? Are your daily decisions guided by crystal clear vision or vague aspirations? Remember that clarity precedes mastery in every meaningful human endeavor. Without precise definition, your mind lacks the necessary blueprint to construct your ideal future. This definition must extend beyond external achievements to include the internal qualities, values, and standards that will characterize your ideal self. Enhance your vision's clarity through multisensory engagement. Don't merely think about your ideal future, but visualize specific scenes. Articulate the exact words your future self would speak. Imagine the environments they would occupy, and even select music that embodies the essence of this aspiration. This multidimensional approach creates neural pathways that make your vision increasingly accessible and compelling to your subconscious mind. What specific aspect of your aspirational identity currently lacks sufficient definition? Which area of your life would most benefit from increased clarity regarding your ideal future self? Decisive action, moving beyond planning to implementation. Have you observed that society celebrates contemplation while achievement requires implementation? Countless individuals possess remarkable insights, brilliant strategies, and detailed plans, yet remain largely unknown because they never translate these mental constructs into tangible action. The gap between knowing and doing represents the most significant barrier separating mediocrity from excellence. This hesitation between thought and action stems from our natural tendency to overvalue preparation while underestimating the learning that emerges only through implementation. We convince ourselves that additional research, planning, or skill development must precede meaningful action, unaware that this approach often serves primarily to postpone necessary risk and potential discomfort. You bridge this gap through the discipline of immediate implementation, taking concrete action toward your aspirational identity within 24 hours of identifying any opportunity for growth. This commitment to rapid execution doesn't eliminate planning, but rather prevents planning from becoming a substitute for progress. It acknowledges that imperfect action today typically produces greater results than perfect action indefinitely postponed. Begin implementing this principle by identifying one significant action related to your aspirational identity that you could complete within the next day. Perhaps it's submitting an application, publishing your first piece of writing, approaching a potential mentor, or initiating a challenging conversation. Whatever this action might be, commit to completing it before allowing yourself to engage in additional planning or preparation. American publisher Lawrence Mitchell discovered a manuscript that immediately struck him as commercially promising, despite needing substantial editorial revision. Rather than following the standard procedure of convening committee reviews and conducting market analyses, Mitchell called the author directly, negotiated provisional terms, and announced the acquisition to his publicity team, all within 6 hours of finishing the manuscript. This decisiveness, which colleagues initially criticized as impulsive, secured rights to what became the decade's best-selling biography. When later questioned about his unconventional approach, Mitchell explained that while competitors were still analyzing market potential, he had already initiated promotional activities, creating unstoppable momentum. How often do your plans remain unexecuted? What percentage of your knowledge currently remains imprisoned in thought rather than expressed through action? Which aspect of your aspirational identity has suffered most from the gap between what you know and what you've implemented? Remember that action itself generates clarity in ways that planning cannot. The feedback received from implementation, whether success or setback, provides essential information unavailable through contemplation alone. This practical wisdom, acquired only through direct experience, often proves more valuable than the theoretical knowledge that preceded it. What specific action related to your aspirational identity have you been postponing through excessive planning or preparation? What concrete step could you take within the next 24 hours that would move you measurably closer to becoming your ideal self? The foundation of exceptional achievement. Have you noticed that truly remarkable individuals maintain different standards than their contemporaries? They reject work others would consider adequate, speak with precision where others accept ambiguity, and remain engaged when others would justifiably rest. This distinction in personal standards, more than talent, opportunity, or resources, explains the extraordinary gap between exceptional and ordinary results. Most operate according to standards established by their immediate environment, working sufficiently to maintain employment, behaving adequately to preserve relationships, developing skills enough to perform acceptably in their chosen domain. This approach guarantees mediocrity, regardless of potential, because conformity to prevailing standards can never produce exceptional outcomes. You elevate your trajectory by deliberately establishing personal standards that far exceed environmental expectations. This